Welcome to Kingdom Moments. I am your host, Pastor Joe Kirby of Lighthouse Church in Pensacola, Florida. Kingdom Moments exists to share the whole gospel of God with our family. And that's a capital I, capital L, capital Y. For I love you. So today's focus is the flesh versus the spirit. Part 1. But I say to you, walk by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desire of the flesh. Galatians 5:16. Now, in every single Christian's life, you will find that there is a battle that rages within. It is a battle between right and wrong. The life that Christ would live and the life the enemy seems to want to live. But you say to yourself, now this shouldn't be. Okay, look, I'm saved now. Shouldn't I be better than this? Shouldn't I be better than these bad thoughts? Or another one I've been asked many, many times. When did the temptation stop? When does the enemy stop? The answer, they won't. And he won't. Now, the truth is, you will need to deal with your flesh for the rest of your life until Jesus comes or you are called home. But what is the flesh? And why does it still remain? Remember, God allowed that to happen. There's a reason. Why is it so bent on pleasing itself? Now, all of these questions are great questions, and we would do well to answer each and every one, which we're going to do. Now, this is interesting because we're not too far removed from the truth that we just studied. Remember about how we were created, what we were created for, and how God, watch this, has begun to transform me into the Son's image. So let's start here. What is the flesh? Now, I like to describe the flesh as the ghost of the old nature. Now, on the day that you accepted Jesus Christ's free gift of salvation, yes, you were born into a new family. Yes, everything changed. Your destination, like I said, your family. But the flesh, this side of heaven, still remains. But why? Why didn't the flesh disappear when the old nature did? Because the flesh, watch this now, is a part of who you are. Jesus says so. Now watch this. Remember, without you being born and living a life up to the point that you accepted Christ, you were still, ready, loved by God. Even when you made evil choices and you lived a selfish, self-centered life, you had rejected Christ's his invitation of salvation. He still loved you. And sometimes people get the idea in their head that God doesn't smile at you until after you accepted Jesus. Wrong answer. See, that would be like having a child that's, very disobedient. But even though they choose certain things you can't stand, you still love them. You wish they would choose differently. But you always still love them because they're yours. Now, never forget or underestimate God's love for the unsaved. Every single human being is His. All right, but now getting back, let's take a look at a very important statement that Jesus makes in John chapter 3, verse 6. And He says this, watch this, that which is born of the flesh is flesh. That which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Now, what Jesus is saying in this verse is that within each of us, we have two factors, the flesh and the spirit. Because of the fall of man, we do have the flesh that remains. Now, to some, probably most, that could be pretty disappointing news. One would think, but at that moment that we trusted Christ, everything would get better. Well, destination-wise, things most definitely got better, like we talked about before. Who you are now, watch this, who is with you and who is in you at all times, That changed completely as well. But we still have the flesh within. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I came to this point and I realized that there was no way to stop the flesh from working in my mind, I became rather disappointed. But you must remember what has taken place in God's economy. You were born in sin, destined to be separated from God eternally. Your identity, who you were created to be, it all had been stolen from you. Then comes Jesus. His life, death, resurrection changed everything. And God literally takes you back to the place where you were created to be, just like Adam and Eve. But what did Adam and Eve face in the garden? A choice. Just don't eat of this one tree, God said. And they did. They were faced with a choice. It was a choice of faith. Do you believe what God said about the tree, or do you listen to someone or something else? You see, as God tested Adam and Eve's innocence, He will now test our faithfulness because of what He has done. He's put us in this position to say, look, now that I'm with you, how will you choose? Because even though the flesh remains, even though the thoughts come, even though the temptations don't seem to cease, God has given you the ability to overcome every single attack. Every single one. And that is the next thing God wants us to see. That we are not helpless. We are not hopeless against the flesh. He just needs us to learn from Him how to deal with it. So thank you so much for your time. And I pray that the study has blessed you. I pray that it has encouraged you to see life new, to understand what was, but what God has now said should be. So join me tomorrow, Tuesday, Lord willing, as we continue to study the flesh and how we're supposed to deal with it. I love you, family. God bless.